Is Isiah Thomas somewhere off in the in some hotel here in Phoenix conducting his own interviews? What is going on?
Well, you mentioned Isiah Thomas, and Zero Dark 30 in the chat said, keep laughing about Isiah Thomas. Somehow he always gets into a position of power. Here's the thing. We might be joking about Isiah Thomas, but I don't think anybody in here doesn't think that Isiah Thomas has some sort of influence at the very least when it comes to the Suns right now. He may not have a specific title within that organization, but he is being talked to. He's been asked his opinion on things. Like, him and Matt Ishbia are like BFFs, basically. Of course, they're going to have those conversations. It's just to what degree is what's in question.
Well, and they're not hiding it either.
No.
They sat next to each other when he was right next to Ishbia when Jokic elbowed him. They're not hiding it.
Isiah Thomas has a role within this organization, whether people are going to admit it or not, or if it's going to be an official, title or not. Like, he has some pull, some kind of way with this organization. I don't. Based on his history, I'm not on board with it because he hadn't done shit. Like, the guy has not accomplished a damn thing in his entire NBA career post-playing. Not a thing. Not as a coach, not as an executive, not as a president of basketball operations, not in New York, not in Toronto, not in Indiana. Like, you go down the list, he hasn't done anything. So why this guy would have that much pull in this organization is beyond me, because what advice could he possibly be giving you that is worth listening to based on his track record?
Hey, I don't agree with you.
Okay.
He bought the Continental Basketball Association for $10 million
and then ruined it.
ran it into bankruptcy. That's something. And then he also bailed out the Suns by taking Stephon Marbury's and Penny Hardaway's contracts so they could sign Steve Nash. So he accomplished two things. It just wasn't in help of the places he was employed at.
Again,
it could be a tax write-off, I guess.
The one thing that I'm going to go to the absolute mat for is that, and this is no pun intended to Matt Ishbia, but we all want to know that we have competent leadership, ownership in our organization. Okay. When you start parading a guy like Isiah Thomas around, that immediately creates doubt within the fan base and within people that have seen Isiah operate at different levels. And you got to be careful with that. Right now, as a Suns fan, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, do these guys know what they're doing? Because this isn't the answer. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you're going to give them the benefit of the doubt until everything works out and you see how everything plays out. Okay, I think they started off great with the Kevin Durant trade, and they're not afraid to make moves. But I just want to caution the movement of this organization moving forward. When you start doing things and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of harmony, one is Ishbia pulling the ropes. Is it James Jones? Is it Isiah Thomas behind the scenes? Like, that's the confusion that I do not like, because I want to know that we have a solid foundation in terms of who is making these decisions, to which nobody can honestly say 100% it's this guy or this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you, but I think Ishbia probably has a group of people helping advise him as well, because he's very close with Tom Izzo as well, a well-respected basketball mind. So my hope is, if he is listening to outside voices like Isiah Thomas, there are multiple outside voices he's listening to and saying, okay, here's what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts? And I also still think this is a feeling out process with James Jones. If he doesn't think, his seat's hot, I think he's probably in the wrong mindset. I think his seat will remain hot for a while.
But like, I feel like that's the most unfair of hot seats, right? Like, if Ishbia is the one that's pulling, making all the moves and making all the decisions, and you're not really letting James Jones do any of that, then you might as well just get rid of him now.
Oh, I'm not saying.
But that wouldn't look good.
Right?
Like optics, you have to have
because
a
what's
general
his
manager
role
in place.
if that's not the case?
I think that's been overblown. It's probably groupthink right now, which also isn't the greatest thing in the world. But what I think Ishbia is doing is he's involved because he wants to know how James Jones operates. He wants to know what this guy thinks from a basketball perspective, because he inherited him. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know the way he operates in an off season, and he probably wants to see it. And ultimately, just like with the disgraced former owner, Matt Ishbia has the final say. He signs the damn checks. So anybody that gets offered a contract, Matt Ishbia's got to approve it. So I think that's more of what's going on than Matt Ishbia has put James Jones in a broom closet and he's taken everything.
Right. You know? So Jan Paul in the chat said you guys complained when Sarver was here and you complain when Ishbia is here. And those are two totally different conversations. Robert Sarver was a whole can of worms that if you want to know all of that, go back and watch the shows from them. We're not going to rehash those out. But when it comes to Matt Ishbia, I don't think that we're upset with Matt Ishbia at all at this point. I think there are just things that based off of the previous regime, you can point to and be like, those kind of seem similar. And we just want to keep an eye on it to make sure that it's not the same thing as far as who is making the final decisions. Yes, Matt Ishbia 100% should and deserves to be in the conversation in those rooms, but it's a slippery slope based off of what we saw with Robert Sarver, where he was vetoing things in those rooms, where he was telling people, no, you're drafting this person instead of that person. And that's where things get a little bit scary. And I think we're just keeping an eye on it. We're not saying Matt Ishbia is that or isn't that. It's just, again, we've given the benefit of the doubt still, but we're keeping an eye on how things are progressing because there's a lot of change that's happening.
I want to be also very, very clear. I am not really on the anti-Matt Ishbia shtick at all, 1,000,000%, not even close. I'm more of like, I don't want Isiah Thomas to have a big role within this organization. That's the one thing. I think Matt Ishbia is doing exactly what I would be doing if I was the owner. Like, I want control over my organization. I want to know who's doing what and how they're doing it. I want to know all the details because I haven't been around these people ever before. And so it's absolutely within his purview to be able to do all this and that. I have no issue with that. The moves, and hell, if he wants to make the moves, he wants to make the call in the room, go for it. It's your organization. I don't really care. The Isiah Thomas thing, to me, because of his track record and what he's done and all the other allegations that are accompanying it, like, you kind of just left something that was similar to some degree previously with Sarver. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to bring that back in? And everybody had a very significant reaction when it was rumored that Isiah Thomas was going to be a part of the organization. So, listen, it's not just about Matt Ishbia in this regard at all. No. To me, it's all about Isiah Thomas, and I just don't want him to be part of this.
It's just coming from a place of caring for, one, we all put so much time and effort into this team and this organization that we love watching and rooting for. And a lot of us know people in that building, and even the people who don't know people in that building, you still have a level of hope and desire that they have a healthy, good working place.
Yeah, and
that's all. And we're not saying that it's not. I'm just saying.
I'm pro Matt Ishbia. His move that he supposedly had the influence on was getting Kevin Durant. I'm not going to bemoan anybody for getting a superstar, and I got to see how the rest of this plays out. I understand the concern with Isiah Thomas, but if he doesn't have an official role in this organization, I'm not gonna panic, because if I was a billionaire that just bought the Suns and I happened to know Charles Barkley because I grew up idolizing him, you're damn right I'd be asking Charles Barkley what he thought about things because I had a previous relationship there. And the Isiah Thomas stuff, I get his track record as a coach and running organizations. But if you look into some of the New York Knicks stuff, supposedly his part in the lawsuit was because Stephon Marbury was having a sexual relationship with an intern, and he got wrapped into the lawsuit because he was the coach, and they said he didn't have organizational control. So there's all sorts of factors, and I get it, and that's not a defense of Isiah Thomas in any way, but there's just a lot of facts and things with it. I don't want him a part of the organization, but I'm not going to freak out until he has a title in the organization.
Yeah.